recording a very, very special Thanksgiving holiday, end of the year 2023 episode of I Think This Is Great with Clay Inferno. I am Clay Inferno, and I am joined by Emily Arkin and
Hello.
Bridget Duggan, who are part of Identical Cousins. I don't think you're actually cousins, but are you? Are you?
No, we haven't done the full genealogical deep dive, but we're just like
we're all
spirit.
related to Genghis Khan or something, anyways, or something like that. Or we're breathing in the same air that Caesar breathed in, or something like that.
Yeah, we were a little bit inspired by the Patty Duke show, The Identical Cousins, but also because we started doing Twin Peaks theme events like the twin cousins, Laura and Maddie. Twin Peaks.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Bridget, you've been on the show before. We've collaborated a bunch of times, but I'm going to start with you because I know you the best. But let's say someone's tuning in for the first time. Please tell me about what's going on with Bridget Duggan and what you're doing these days.
Oh, well, right now I'm doing a lot of Pee-Wee Herman stuff for our show. But yeah, I have a couple small businesses that I run. I have Pasithea Productions, where I do social media marketing, content management, and just added private party events.
Oh, excellent.
To the starter. Just got my first gig planning a 50th anniversary party. And I also have a vintage clothing brand called Existential Thread Co. And we do goods for healing the retail therapy wounds that you might have. Everything is kind of eccentric, makes you smile. And that's like where the bulk of my time goes to, is managing that. I have an Etsy store and I do a lot of markets. And then I also have another business called Small Mart, where it's handmade vintage artisan market that runs almost monthly out of Crystal Ballroom, and we're planning on expanding in the spring, so that's kind of exciting. And yeah, and then the Identical Cousins project with Emily.
Okay, well then over to you, Emily. Please introduce yourself. We're just meeting now, and I'm only noticing your P Excite Bike shirt. And in honor, I'm actually wearing sort of Tim Burton outfit. This is my Beetlejuice.
Love it.
But
as we speak, they're filming a new Beetlejuice like up the street from us.
I saw that.
They've taken over a whole neighborhood. It's all Halloweened out for the new Beetlejuice. Ooh, nice.
In honor of Pee-Wee.
Yeah.
Batman Returns. We just did a league podcast, my main podcast. We did all the Tim Burton through the Schumacher Batman movies, and Paul Reubens was actually, he plays the Penguin's dad in Batman Returns, but he also returns to play Penguin's dad in a show that I enjoy. I don't think anyone else did, called Gotham. So love Paul Reubens, and I'm getting distracted talking about clothes. I think we started that off. Emily, please tell me about yourself. It's a pleasure.
Sure thing.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Emily Arkin. I am an artist, musician, and arts administrator. I've worked at a music conservatory and in scholarly publishing. Right now, I've been helping like lots of friends with sort of music and music-related projects. Like I've been working with Stompbox Sonic, who are a boutique guitar pedal business, and Punk Rock Aerobics, who are launching a For Kids series. But I'm a musician in the band Harsh Foxing. I'm also in a band that's directly related to Identical Cousins called Julie Cruise Director. We formed like kind of a super group to cover the Twin Peaks soundtrack when Bridget first approached us about doing a Twin Peaks event. So I play a lot of music. I've had a practice space in Somerville for a long time. I've been on the Somerville Arts Council board, that kind of thing. So I love to throw events. It's really fun kind of just being a impresario of weird things with Bridget. And as soon as we met up, we had kind of like a kindred feeling about let's throw some extravaganzas. That's what I love to do.
That's really great. And I do a lot of shows in Somerville at Crystal Ballroom, and Arts at the Armory. And I love Somerville. I've never lived in Somerville. I've lived in Cambridge and in Boston, but the arts are alive and well in Somerville. So thanks for all you do.
There are. I will say there are some existential threats to the arts in Somerville. Like there's a lot of developers kind of sharpening their knives for those like practice spaces and stuff. So I'm definitely hearing a lot about that and kind of hope that the city will continue to invest in like keeping artists there. But yeah, it is a cool place. I now live in Medford, but I am still have one foot in the
Somerville, Medford, Cambridge. Is it really any different?
They're
I live in Providence, which is very different. So.
Very different. Bridget's the furthest train ride away. Excellent. So you said a little bit about it, but how did Identical Cousins come to be an entity, a new business for Bridget to work on, for Emily to work on?
Yeah, Bridget really started the seed of the idea when you were working at One Somerville.
Yeah, I was doing the booking at One Somerville in the pre-pandemic times, and I had an empty Friday in February. And I was like, oh, great, I get to do something like fun, passion project-y on the date. And I always wanted to do a Twin Peaks theme event in the lounge, which is a smaller room, 100 capacity room upstairs.
That's the Twin Peaks room. Yeah.
That was like the vibes that I got. And so I reached out to a friend of mine named Gilmore Tamney, who knows of an artist named The Mystery that I wanted to book. And she suggested that I reach out to Emily because Emily is like the biggest fan of Twin Peaks. and Emily has increased my fandom for Twin Peaks. I was like a periphery fan, and then start learning more about it and just sort of like falling in love with all the stuff and all the pieces of it. So yeah, we threw a party in the lounge. We did a Red Room theme. That was the first one. Yeah, and then sold out like really quickly. We were on to something, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool. Damn fine copy here.
And yeah, we took it as an opportunity to like found it. We were like, how fun. I wasn't sure I by myself could like hold down the whole soundtrack. I'm more of a rock musician, but I had through teaching girls rock camp at the Boston one, which is now called Boston Raising Powerful Musicians. But through that, I knew a bunch of musicians, including two great jazz musicians from NEC. They were in a duo called Umbrella Pine. So I talked to them first because I was like, if anyone can hold down like the jazz part of this, they can. And then we were able to assemble a whole super group that was all like femme and non-binary, which was kind of fun. And that was Julie's director. And we had so much fun doing it that we were like, we should do this again. And the audience told us that, the venue, everyone was like, when will this happen again? Like it was an excuse to, we decked out the whole room with like decor from Twin Peaks. All the acts just fit in the mood. It was as if you were visiting the Roadhouse or something, and there was a little rift to another dimension. We did a lot with visual projections and original art around it. So that was kind of the seed of us doing events like this.
And so I remember there's been a few more, right? You continued to do that with the Twin Peaks parties, right?
Yeah, the next time was in February of 2020, right? So you can imagine, I'm gonna set the stage of the time period for you. And we went big. We went big. So we had both rooms, the ballroom. So it was like a 375 cap and the lounge. Yeah. We did. Emily was like doing all the artists, corralling the artists, and there was a original artwork created, and Hallelujah the Hills was like the headliner. Nice. We had
Johnny No Graves. Sorry.
Johnny No Graves. I was trying to think of the name. Yes, thank you for that. Which was like, I don't know, they just did like Western covers of Depeche Mode or something like that. It was
that's like cool. Like Oliver Peck kind of vibe or something.
And Orville. Then
Orville.
Yeah. And which I played at once. Orville.
I know, that's so cool.
Which is why I was like thinking that. But and then upstairs we had the Satanic Chef did like an art double like inspired buffet, and we had themed cocktails. Creatively about the artwork that was there, because I can't even remember it all.
Yeah, well, one thing that really struck me, because it was February 2020, is that we had a smell-o-vision exhibit, which maybe if had we known like what was coming down the pike, we would not have done. Like, people were smelling like, ooh, burning, and cherry pie hot out of the oven, out of like little like diner sugar containers. But we had all kinds of art. We had, someone painted the original like "Welcome to Twin Peaks" sign. Basically, each time we did another Twin Peaks event, we kind of like upped the ante fourfold.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. I think I actually had one of my last shows before the pandemic was in the lounge, and it was I think it was like very late February, early March even. And I look at the poster from that every once in a while. Wow, look at that! What's about to come?
It felt quite surreal. Like, I remember during lockdown, were we in a room where there were like 250, 300 people? Did that really
breathing on each other?
That was so recent, but it feels like another.
I had like the best January, February ever at once.
I was having a great time.
Had an amazing sold out like prom thing we did. Then Ezra Furman had their residency on Tuesdays in January, and the first, it was always like, it was really, things were going really well. And then all of a sudden March, but it shifted as identical. Well, we weren't exactly identical cousins at this point yet, were we?
I can't remember when we made it formal. Either right before that show or right after. I think we were like, we're going to keep doing this. This is still happening. But yeah, we really shifted to doing like virtual events, and like pretty quickly, like sometimes when I look back on that time period, I'm like, oh, I didn't learn to play the piano or anything. But we both became much more adept video editors and virtual events. And so we did one that was Twin Peaks themed, but we also did one called My Synesthesia Valentine. And we really went very broad. Like, that one was almost a talk show. We interviewed a neuroscience who like specialized in smell and pheromones. And it
was like a Valentine's Day themed event, but sort of like interpreting love through all the senses. So we did like little featured performers based on all those ideas, and I made like little interstitials with like scientific facts, and
that's so cool,
fun.
And we made kits for people to make Valentines for people while they were like sitting at home being safe. So we continued the tradition of making complex, fun, really multifaceted events, even when it was like from our living room to other people's living rooms.
Then we did the one with the coffee and the meditation too.
Yes. Oh, that one was great. We actually didn't even know like how that would come together, but we had just been talking to a couple of friends. One was a coffee roaster. One had been a Zen monk for 10 years. And then we got together and just tried to figure out like what kind of event would we do. And it just gelled into a coffee meditation, and we made an entire zine to go with it. And we all learned so much about Zen koans and brewing, like really, really like in-depth brewing and roasting and that kind of thing. So we got to educate ourselves at the same time we were doing these events. Like, we tried to make them kind of a mix of like a symposium.
It was called Damn Good Coffee Meditation. You know how Dale Cooper loves coffee so much with Peaks. So that was Twin Peaks angle. And then Nicole was the coffee roaster who was on the podcast with me for our other project. And she did all the art, like a lot of the artwork, and Emily did some of the artwork too. And then she did like a bunch of videos on tasting, how to guide us through the tasting. And then Emily's friend John was like a monk and did a guided meditation as if you were Dale Cooper. It was really interesting.
Wow,
like,
that's really
hard to conceptualize and explain, and it was. And then Emily and I put together these gift packs of, you could buy a ticket to the show, but then also we would send you the coffee, the zine, and a bunch of Twin Peaks ephemera. And I sent one to Italy. I sent one to Amsterdam, like California, Georgia, like a lot of random people. Like the Twin Peaks really draws a lot of different people from a lot of different areas, and so that was kind of cool.
There's also a theme I've heard you talk about on bringing another element to your event, which is smell.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. It's not just that. I think
we're
we
censoring it.
And maybe this word is overused. I was just reading an article in the New Yorker about like how many times people say immersive events nowadays that will come date the 2020s. But at the same time, like that's really what we're going for. And I think one reason that we go to those lengths was to try to bring in all the senses and really make people feel they were having an escapist moment from their real lives and entering a universe. So like whether it's Twin Peaks or Pee-wee's World, we want people to be like, yes, I get to be inside this world rather than just watching it on a tiny screen.
Yeah. No,
now that I think of it, there's not enough smelling in Pee-wee.
Yeah, we have zero smell erosion for this one. We could change that. We got a little time. It's in 2 weeks. But
all right. So now is a natural time for us to talk about Pee-wee and your show and the celebration of Pee-wee's Big Adventure in Pee-wee's Playhouse. I thought I would ask you, what's the word of the day for today, November 16th, we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
Don't all scream that word out at once.
I'm going to say smell.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
And then everyone screams. We're counting on everyone at home to be screaming right now. I hope you are.
Yay. Yeah, maybe I'll put in some sound effects. Tell us what's going to be happening at Crystal Ballroom. What can people expect when they show up? So there's a screening in the main theater, the historic Somerville Theater of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Tim Burton movie, and then they're going to do some highlight, like a sizzle reel of some Playhouse stuff just to get people in the mood. So those are probably the parts of Pee-wee's universe we're leaning into the most with this, but this is going to be an after party upstairs. So you watch the movie and then head upstairs to the Crystal Ballroom. So Crystal Ballroom is like part of the Somerville Theater that they renovated to turn like back into a live music venue, and we love it there. That's in fact where we came full circle and did like a giant, like huge, same number of people as February 2020 or maybe more, like in the Crystal Ballroom a couple of months ago. So we'll be up there. And as with Twin Peaks, we would build out the Red Room within Crystal Ballroom when we did that. This time we have, I think, at least 4 like immersive places where people can take like photos and videos of themselves. We're going to have a bike photo booth where people can fly through the air on Pee-wee's bike, or they can like, what else, Bridget? We're going to have, tell me about the picture phone.
Oh, yeah. This is probably our most ambitious production to date. I think the most art projects we've ever had, for sure. The most like cohesive storytelling in the performance aspect of it, or not cohesive, but more of a narrative, like a story in the way that we put things together in some parts. But yeah, we have a picture phone with the lips that opens up, and inside will be some clips of cartoons. There'll be like an iPad which you can interact with, and some other surprises on that iPad. And then we also have like a photo booth where at some point in the series they turned the dance break into Miss Yvonne and Pee-wee on these like puppet bodies, and their heads on it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like with the
like full-size person head on a tiny puppet body, and then the body like
love that
dance. Yeah.
Like Welcome to Wienerville. Do you remember that show with Nickelodeon? No, anybody? No.
I'd like at least a half a generation shift, if not a whole one.
And then we're going to have some elements of the Playhouse in the room, both life-size and some mini dioramas of it, because miniatures are very key in Pee-wee. So that's just what's happening around. Cherry, yes. Life-size Cherry is happening. We're very excited.
Oh, excellent.
Everyone's favorite.
I saw your unboxing of the playset. That was really fun.
Yeah, Bridget did a good job. That was during we had a whole maker weekend. So this is really a cast of thousands. We have 36 friends who are helping us with this, and some of like the art squad and people working just on interactive and video, and then a lot of performers like comedians, drag performers, and musicians. So there's going to be huge swaths of the score and a lot of the rock songs that were on the soundtrack of the movie. And there's going to be, just like a whole arc of, we have 3 acts, right, Bridget?
Yes.
3 musical acts, and you also have
Sorry.
he's going to be
House
there.
band with featured singers.
Oh, 3 acts.
3 theatrical acts. The first one, for instance,
Excellent.
is Pee-wee's Good Morning Pee-wee. So it's all breakfast themed. It's all Saturday morning cartoons. It's all, yeah. Wake up.
Yeah, we've been really methodical about the way that we put this together. And so in terms of documenting like what we're doing, because we do have a process that's been like, but it's been evolving, and we haven't really looked at it from like this way of, yes, what are the steps that we take in order to have these great events? And so we're sort of like, we've done a lot of charts, like mind maps. We did a lot of ideation with all the people that wanted to be involved.
Wow.
Like Emily, the awesome exercise where we had a couple ideas and people just went through. We watched some clips.
Yeah, we had s'mores and a bonfire and had a little screening for everyone, and tried to pull together like what's everyone's favorite memory of Pee-wee, or what's most iconic. And it's really interesting because I think so many people have different things that they're like, this means Pee-wee to me, like just Amazing Larry, or just some small piece of his universe. And there's so many different Pee-wee things to choose from. It's such a, not even to mention Paul Reubens outside of Pee-wee, like on Batman or whatever, but he lived.
And you remember stuff you forgot about all the time. Like the other day, I remembered the giant ball of tinfoil, like just part of aspect of the show that I had forgotten about, or like I'm watching a clip and I'm like, oh my gosh, Magic Screen, we forgot about Magic Screen. Those kinds of things. Like,
yeah, Bridget, Tyler, the music director, just texted me this morning. Is there anything happening with tinfoil ball? So I wouldn't be surprised if she shows up with a tinfoil ball, something or other.
That's the challenge, I think, is editing ourselves, because we're so like, there's this element that's nostalgic, but also very close to everybody's hearts, because we watched Pee-wee, and it's been hard to, we want to do all the projects because everything means a lot to all of us and stuff. So,
well, and one thing we found is just how emotionally resonant it is for everyone. Obviously, people are interested in going to the show, but the artists, a lot of them just say, I just want to take a moment to say how much Paul Reubens meant to me. He just seemed like such an incredible person off screen too. Or a lot of people feel like, ooh, this feels really good and wholesome for my soul in this moment. Focusing on Pee-wee feels really rewarding. And we're taking it, the way we approach these events too is not like literal, like cosplaying or literal. Not everything has to be an exact replica of stuff, but it's just like, let's create a Playhouse environment for artists and let them riff on this universe without, necessarily like just replicating it. So that's a little bit, it feels like how the artists worked originally on it. Like they were just sort of like set free, and they were like, go nuts, guys. And a lot of them were doing their jobs for the first time. So like we've definitely succeeded, I think, in recreating that feeling for the people involved in the project.
I think also something about, I end up like actually talking a lot about not so happy things like grief and death and things like that on this show. But there's something to be said too about the timing of this. Like, it's not so close to Paul Reubens passing. It's like the perfect time to give him an awesome tribute, because people have processed that he's gone, and then your artists can be inspired, and maybe somebody or maybe more than one person is going to show up with a little tuxedo tie on at your show. You know what I mean?
I like that.
So I think it's good to be able to process grief with time. I think that's really the only way people can do it. And the awesome tribute, like also, I think Phil Hartman was on the show, and that I think of Phil Hartman, to me, like his story is so kind of tragic at the end there, but how, like you were saying, Bridget, about the things you forget about the show, they really are comforting and bring you joy and peace, and thinking about like a really awesome thing that happened when we were growing up watching Pee-Wee's Playhouse or watching Pee-Wee's Big Adventure was Tim Burton's first movie. And all the great things he's done now and still continues to do things. So I just, I applaud y'all for what you're doing with the show. It sounds really, really fun. Tell me about, you mentioned you have bands playing and you also have comedians. What can we expect from some of the other acts that will be on stage?
Yeah. Tookie Kavanaugh and Angela Sawyer, who are two fabulous Boston comedians who've appeared a lot together and separately, they're going to be our hosts. So Tookie is...
I love Tookie. I work with her a lot.
Oh, fabulous. Tookie's king of cartoons and Angela's Captain Carl.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So they'll be good at steering the ship, I think. And then just a ton of... Some of the people who used to be in Union Square Roundtable are involved. Kira Horowitz has really been wrangling all the comedians and characters so they can be in sketches together. So, yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's going to be some all cast on hand moments. Pee-wee's wedding might play a role in the show.
Oh, very nice. That's cool. And so, let's see, what else do you have going on here? You've got some
There's
other
a house
special
band.
guests?
Yeah, there's a house band, and there'll be a bunch of people coming up to sing different songs from musicians, Boston area musicians like Hilken Mancini and Dahlia Zadek will sing, and then Emily and I are gonna sing too.
We're being the W.
Cousin.
Hilken will be Cyndi Lauper. Noelle Dorsey will be Dee Snider. So lots of fun.
She's so unusual. That makes sense. And yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned Walter Sickert will be there. I feel like he's the perfect person to show up at this thing.
Yeah, they're doing a little video cameo, but they'll be there too.
Oh, excellent.
And we have great drag performers too. Celia Smokin' Butts and Lukewarm. Yeah, we felt like one reason we called the entire event "We Are All Pee-Wee." Like, we kind of wanted to show the multitudes of Pee-Wee and not be like, there's one impersonator. But so we have a couple drag Pee-Wee impressions coming, which should be interesting.
I do have a question too. You mentioned that, and something I'm curious about and been thinking about with Paul Reubens is that the queer community really identifies with Pee-Wee. And is there anything else you might want to say about that? Maybe for help our listeners or me understand how important Paul Reubens or Pee-Wee is?
Yeah, I thought that was really important. That's one of the first things people realize is what a queer sensibility. It was really out there in a way where, so many kids identified with it, whether they themselves felt genderqueer or whatever it was. Like, there was something about Pee-Wee that really spoke to queer kids and adults. We've been finding too, there are people who grew up on Pee-Wee and were literally kids watching the Playhouse. And there's all kinds of adults who are like, this is what I like to watch while stoned in college or whatever. That's it. Yeah, I think between, Miss Yvonne, just the whole world kind of makes the world of Playhouse and has elements of drag and elements of subversion, I think. What do you think, Bridget? More you can add to that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those things. There's just so many different types of personalities and identities that are in the Playhouse. I think that it spoke to a lot of different types of people watching it, just growing up. And I was like the age, so Pee-Wee's Playhouse ran from 1986 to 1990. So that was I was like the age group that it was specifically adapted for. And I remember I asked my parents, I was like, do you remember me watching Pee-Wee's Playhouse? And my mom said, yeah, you were just laughing the entire time you were watching.
It was so funny to watch.
It was funny. And then I asked my dad, and my dad's, I don't remember what you were doing. I was just entranced by it, watching it with you, just seeing what was going on. I just loved it so much too. So it spoke to all types of people. And I think we're trying to do that justice with what we're putting together. That's what we're aiming for with our show and our tribute.
And we are all Pee-Wee. And
we are all Pee-Wee.
Upcoming show at Crystal Ballroom at the historic Somerville Theater, which is just, I do so many shows there, and I love it. It's the best. It's the best place for arts to play. You said it came out of the pandemic. It almost this is real local stuff for people in the Boston area. But Bridget mentioned once Somerville, which was a huge loss. So it's one of the venues that we lost in the pandemic. And Crystal Ballroom, it's like the opposite of that. It was birthed out of the pandemic, and they made the place so perfect for the type of shows that I do and the type of shows that you do, comedy, podcasts, and sure, yeah, it's a great place to see a rock band too. But they have video there, they have a nice green room,
Great
private
lighting.
bathroom for the artists, great lighting, chandeliers. Like every time I have a comedian there, they make some dumb joke about the chandeliers. But yeah, Crystal Ballroom, love Crystal Ballroom. Staff there is so awesome. Everybody's so great. And so yeah, in combined. I always like that when they have combined events there that go from the big theater into the smaller room. So I'm really excited for you guys' show. It sounds really super fun.
We love working there. And in fact, we're going to do a few more shows in the new year. We're just talking about maybe doing some kind of love boat yacht rock event at some point.
Oh, that's
We're
a great
really
idea.
excited about that.
Like a lot of yacht rock bands, I'm sure you could put together a super group of bands. You're all the people you all know.
Oh, we have some ideas cooking.
I'm sure. So we're the days now, but we have. I just want to ask if there's. So okay, we'll start with the basics, and then we'll give our own little We're All Pee-Wee tribute and talk about things that we like, things that we might remember from Pee-Wee memories. But so how do people know about this show? Well, how should they follow Identical Cousins? How can people get on the train here where they buy tickets, things like that? The basics.
We have a brand site. IdenticalCousins.com.
It's a beautiful website.
Thank you.
I love it.
And then people can go straight to the box office at the Somerville Theater, or Crystal Ballroom has its own box office upstairs when they're open, or you can get them online at the show. So I think it's like bit.ly/weareallp-we.
Yeah, so we'll have that in the show notes, and if it's on YouTube, then in the comments below. And that's great. What's the date?
It's the Sunday after Thanksgiving, November 26th.
Oh, perfect.
And the movie's at 5:30, and the party starts at 7 and goes till whenever.
Oh, that's awesome. So I had Bridget got me addicted to ChatGPT.
That's it. Oh my goodness, you should see. So we did some AI Pee-Wee visualizations. They all came out horrifying.
Oh, really? No.
Horrible. Thanksgiving and Pee-Wee were like some of the terms, and it was just like really like bizarre looking bow tied.
People look like realtors, but also serial killers, like with turkeys growing out of the side of them. Yeah, it was disturbing. We did not end up using any of our machine learning assisted.
Yeah.
But we did keep texting each other. Look what I made now. It's horrible.
Now that's not ChatGPT, but it is AI. And yeah, no, I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. It's super helpful if you're someone that creates a lot of social media posts, and sometimes you're just like out for what do I write now. So
sometimes it just shows you what not to do. You're like, oh, and that is the most cliched way I could put it. So how would I flip that? Or
I'm more cliche than Emily. It's a little.
Here's something that I in the fog of memory. As I was telling you guys, we just did a podcast about our some creative stuff we did in the 90s, but the movie actually was the inspiration for the show. And I if you were to put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you it was the other way around or not. Usually it would be like, oh, let's make a movie out of the TV show. But that's really an interesting fact that ChatGPT gave me. And yeah, you said you have somebody dressing up like Dee Snider.
Yes, yeah, we're gonna have a scene from the Hollywood backlot chase. So Twisted Sisters there. There's also a little behind the music that's gonna happen about how their career was forever ruined after Pee-Wee crashed into them during the yeah.
Excellent. And yeah, that what, now I'm looking at this and it's just telling me about the tequila dance, which is another favorite thing of mine from the movie. I was like a little older, so we would be doing the tequila dance and during recess. I remember that was huge.
Yeah, I think one of the things people love about Pee-wee is like how unself-conscious a character he is, because he's like this childish presentation. So do the dumbest dance you can think of. Great.
Yeah,
like,
in front of
is awkward and is cool in Pee-wee's universe.
Biker guys. Yeah. Like how do you get yourself out of this situation? Like I always kind of like identify with that. Like how would I get myself out of a really like awkward situation where it seems like everyone's gonna beat me up or something?
Well, and Pee-wee, like a couple of people pointed out, like when you're a kid, like Pee-wee plays this 98-pound weakling, like literally they show him weighing himself, and but he always kind of like comes out on top with all his bullies and everything, or he like manages to make people love him.
Right.
And, yeah, so like a lot of kids identified with that if they felt like an outsider. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a confidence to Pee-wee. He's just authentically who he is, and I think that's something and adults to see.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about with the queer culture identifying with them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So maybe I guess I'll start, and then I'm just gonna share my favorite Pee-wee thing. And if you have one you want to share, or it doesn't need to be related to your show at all, just like your favorite sort of Pee-wee thing or favorite Pee-wee memory. We would always just be cribbing the jokes. I know you are, what am I? I know you are, but what am I? Like, we said that on the playground so much. and obviously the scene at Alamo. And I think maybe my favorite Pee-wee scene is when I think about this when I'm driving a car a lot too. It's like, hold the wheel. And then he's looking at the signs. It's just such visually, it's such a Tim Burton thing and such a great Pee-wee thing when he's like, he's driving the car for the passenger seat and the sign goes all around. I think those are like some of my favorite Pee-wee moments. So if you want to share one or two, I would love to hear what they are.
You go first, Bridget.
Okay, well, this is more of like a Paul Reubens, like through the research moment versus Pee-wee. But, like we learned that Paul Reubens loves birthdays, and that when it was somebody's birthday, he was using gifts before gifts were cool and sending them to people, and then he would like just spam all these gifts at you on your birthday, and like a lot of the things that we are on YouTube, like people asking either like messages that he sent to like his friends, or just he loved birthdays, and so it was
sending birthday cards to like a random B-list celebrity, like people he met. Not that they were random to him, but people he knew. But you would be. I understand if you encountered him and he knew that you were around, he would send you a card. That would be so cool to get a card from Pee-wee.
Like, gosh, right.
There's a super sweet podcast. Conan O'Brien interviewed Paul Reubens, and he like replayed it after he passed, and it's really, really touching. And they kind of talk about his love bombing of people, and he was really relentless. Like for when you woke up till 2 a.m, you would get messages.
It was my friend Brandy's birthday yesterday, and so I said, in the spirit of Paul Reubens, I'm going to be sending you gifts all day long.
All day.
Just
That's great.
sent her a ton of the lamest, funniest birthday gifts that I could find on texting her. So that's one of my favorite memories of, or Paul Reubens things. And as far as Pee-wee is concerned, I just discover more like new ones every day because of been doing a lot of just Googling and watching clips and remembering things, and I don't think I can narrow it down. I just feel like I fall in love with it more and more every time I go.
The broad stroke is completely acceptable. I just love Pee-wee is totally an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like why we chose this universe, is because the rabbit hole goes so deep. Like people can really attach to any part of it. And as with like our David Lynch inspired stuff, like you can just tell, does this feel like it belongs in this universe? And that is kind of what attracts us. Is it's so broad, so deep. For me, like mine is a little bit meta outside of Pee-wee too, which is what kind of rekindled my interest in this, was watching the Walter White documentary. It's called Beauty is Embarrassing. And he was one of the like core Pee-wee artists. And I always think about it as being such a West Coast thing, like going on to be like the kind of West Coast artist who would do lots of skateboards and stuff. But there was also a real like Lower East Side sensibility to it. And I really liked hearing about how, and that's, I think, how like Cyndi Lauper came to sing the theme song for Pee-wee's Playhouse. But just hearing about how there were all these artists who were already like kind of close to the Lower East Side art scene, like just poured in the doors, working kind of almost sweatshop condition, which is maybe not ideal, but just like pouring every crazy idea they could come into this, making puppets out of whatever is handy.
Yeah.
Done this before. So that spirit really captured me, and it made me, again, as an adult, be like, what a universe around Pee-wee. Like Pee-wee was like an amazing prop comic, but then he also managed to invite in all these artists and have them really all express themselves in so many weird ways. And he just created a forum for that. And by the time he stopped doing not just the show, but the HBO show and the movie and everything, helping found Tim Burton's career, like he really inspired a lot of other artists and managed to marry it all into one universe, which doesn't make any sense at all, of course, but
One thing that I keep, I'm not trying to plug my other podcast, but one thing we were talking about when we were growing up and then becoming high school and into college and doing stuff, there was something about the constraint of not having a huge budget that and there's a huge contrast now. Like we can do special effects on our computer and things like that, which I hope that there's kids out there that have that sort of like that Pee-wee excitement, that are doing something really weird with like trying to break their Final Cut Pro and have it make it do something bizarre. But yeah, it's like something about the constraint of not having a huge budget and then just trying to be creative with what you have. To me, that's art. To me, art is the struggle in making stuff out of the resources you have. And of course, he had a budget and a team and artistic people, but if it didn't come out of their brains, we wouldn't have a Cherry. We wouldn't have all of that stuff.
There's a part of that documentary when they're talking about, I can't recall the name of the dog character and
Speck? Is it Speck?
No, it's the jazz trio in the band.
Like Chicky Baby and Dirty Dog.
Yeah, that the artist is talking about how he made that out of a oven mitt, basically, and then how Randy because it was just so doing things that he'd never done before, that he made Randy like so many different times and kept carving Randy out of wood every single time.
Like 100 pounds. Yeah.
And then like he'd have to do it again. And just the spirit of, I'm going to try this thing and see if it works out. And we've definitely done a lot of that. I took on a big old project that I am not qualified for, but I'm learning. And I am like making the picture phone, with the lips and the doors or whatever. It's like, I need this to be a thing. And so it's like,
this is like power tools. This is a whole,
Yeah.
It's 8 feet tall. I don't know how I'm going to transport it, but it's happening, and we're being a little bit interpretive with it while we're trying to recreate it. But we keep saying it doesn't need to be perfect. That's not what they would have done. They would have done what they could to make it happen and make it work. So that's kind of the mentality that we're moving with this. So yeah.
Well, but the thing is, I know you, Bridget, and I know what you're capable of, and I've seen your series of events. I've watched it from afar, and I know you, and I know that Pee-Wee would say the same thing. I know that's the vibe. Well, this has been so awesome. I'm gonna get kicked out of my WeWork space here, but I think we covered anything. Any final thoughts? Springer's final thoughts go around.
I will say there's also a big dance party element to this. So at the end, we're gonna have all-star brass band in the audience and everyone dancing to tequila. So yeah, it's also a party. It's not just a variety show, but it has.
And I just had an artist there, and I know they have tequila there.
We have a tequila sponsor, actually.
Okay, great.
Dolce Vita, thanks, Dolce Vita. They're like, we're doing a couple feature cocktails, and some of the proceeds are going back to the artists. So
Dolce Vita, and get some. If you don't drink tequila, you might. I'll be doing tequila with the Topo Chico in my hand, so I know they have that there for sure. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I had a great time, and thanks for revitalizing my podcast that I've let sit dormant for a while. This might be the last one of the year, so it's very special to me. Thank you for doing it, and we'll see you at Crystal Bar.
Smell you later.
Nice, whatever.
That's perfect.
That was good.
Hey, Pee-Wee!
That's my name, Cherry. Don't wear it out. Everybody, really fun.